Well, joining us now from Canberra is Jonathan Hutchinson, lecturer in online media at the University of Sydney. Jonathan, what did you think this morning when we woke up to Elon Musk now owning Twitter?
Well, it's not really a surprise. It's just another feather in his cap in many ways. But I think the question that we want to really address now is what will happen to Twitter in this new kind of environment. And I think Elon's the kind of character that can go one of two ways, and that is he'll follow his path as sort of a open source and try and make Twitter a better place, as he's stated a few times, of making the source, the code open source, and having freedom of speech and a number of other positive things. But I think it remains to be seen whether that's actually what will happen here, and whether he won't go down that other path of a more closed environment that sort of alienates a lot of the existing users on the platform now.
Well, what are the risks, do you think, Jonathan? You've spoken briefly there about some of them, but what are the risks now that Elon Musk owns Twitter, this powerful platform in our social discourse?
Yeah, well, I think what's actually happening is a lot of governments now are starting to make some headway with a lot of these social media platforms in calling them to account for some of the negative activity that's been happening in these spaces where, some people might be targeted. Misinformation was one of the things that was mentioned just before. And one of the strong pushes that Elon Musk is talking about here is that he wants this whole freedom of speech aspect really opened up on Twitter, which is great on one side of the coin. But what that does do is it fuels these things like misinformation and disinformation and other areas like that, where trained media professionals operate is completely fine. But when it's the general public, it's a different kind of conversation which emerges in those spaces. So there is quite a risk that's present with that particular point.
And what does he mean, I suppose, by he says he's a free speech absolutist? So, what do you think he's aiming for with Twitter in that respect? Because there's a lot of free speech out there right now on Twitter. What does he want?
So the headline that's been touted around today is, does this mean Donald Trump will be back on Twitter? And I think that's something that remains to be seen at this point. If he's this absolute character around freedom of speech, will Donald Trump come back on? And if he does, what does that mean? Well, it could mean a number of things, but it really does state that Twitter could become the wild, wild west where anything goes. You can say anything you want and not be held accountable to it. And I think that winds the clock back significantly for some of the steps that have been made to really try and make these places a little bit more safe. He's touting the digital town square quite a bit. And I think if these sorts of absolute types of opinions and activities occur, that might put that digital public space in jeopardy.
Well, we will have to wait and see. Jonathan Hutchinson, thanks so much for joining us here on 8 o'clock.
Thank you.